Deployment is the process of moving metadata from one environment to the other. To move metadata from one sandbox to another, you can use the chain sets, or the Force.com IDE, or the Force.com migration tool. Chain set is a means by which you can send customizations from one org to another. Chain sets can only contain modifications you can make through the setup menu. Chain sets may contain customizations to existing components or new components, but can't be used to delete or rename components. To move metadata using chain sets, you need to have connection between the two environments, which can be configured from deployment connections. An outbound chain set is a chain set created in the org you're logged into and want to send it to another organization. An inbound chain set is a chain set that has been sent from another org to the organization you're logged into. This deploy section is not available in your developer instance. I have access to a production and sandbox environment of a company. I can show you a couple of tools in the deployment section. Let me quickly log into a sandbox. The login URL for a sandbox would be test.salesforce.com. There's a small warehouse application that includes a tab and a custom object. With testing completed, it's time for the administrator Aaron to move all the components from sandbox to production using chain sets. Chain sets are point and click tool to move configuration changes from one org to another. In this case, from sandbox to production. We logged into production org as Aaron. So let's start by authorizing a deployment connection from sandbox to production org. Deployment connections are automatically created between related organizations when a sandbox is created. But organizations can't send or receive chain sets until the connection between them has been authorized. From Setup, search for Deployment Connections and click on Edit beside the sandbox connection. To allow sandbox to deploy chain sets to production org, we select Allow Inbound Changes and save. Now let's log in as Aaron to the sandbox and create an outbound chain set. From the Setup menu, under Deploy, select Outbound Chain Sets, New. We'll enter a name to help us identify the chain set and description of the changes it contains. Now, let's add the new components to the chain set. We created an application and custom object and a tab. So we can use the drop-down list to search for those components and add them to the chain set. We need to repeat this for each type of component. As you can see, we just added our 3 components. Sometimes you will create components that can be dependent on others. You can add all the dependent components easily. You can click View, Add Dependencies, select all the dependent components, and add them to the chain set. Once you're done adding the components, you can upload the chain set. Let me select the production org. This might take a while to upload. You will be notified by an email once the upload is complete. Meanwhile, let's switch to the production org. An outbound chain set from another org appears as an inbound chain set in this org. From Setup, let's navigate to Inbound Chain Sets using Search. You can see that the chain set is waiting for us. We can validate the new components in production to simulate the deployment and catch any potential errors. In this case, everything works as expected, so we are ready to commit the changes to production. We click Deploy and then OK in the pop-up. After the changes are deployed, we can see the application from the app picker. When you move permission sets from sandbox to production, You have to manually assign those permission sets to the user in the production org. In the next lecture, let's talk about the Force.com IDE.